An undulated sky melds into the landscape. Two silhouettes move along the serrated walkway, and the ghost features extend in agony. Since Norwegian artist Edvard Munch created that scream in 1893, it's become one of the world's most famous artworks. But why has it cried trouble so far and endured so long? Munch was born in 1863, one of the world's 5 children. Tuberculosis devastated Europe throughout the 1800s, killing almost a quarter of all adults. It took Munch's mother's life, and then healed as a sisters, and soon after, Munch had his own bout of the disease. Another of his sisters experienced mental illness and lived much of her life in an institution. Meanwhile, Munch flitted in and out of school due to illness, often spending days at home, drawing and listening to ominous stories his father read about. A devout Lutheran, his father considered Munch's artistic ambition unholy. I inherited the seeds of madness. Munch wrote, "The angel of fear, sorrow, and death stood by my side since the day I was born." Eventually, Munch moved to Berlin, where he frequented creative circles committed to breaking with academic tradition and instead developing their crafts organically. While Munch had trained classically, he began immersing himself in what he called soul painting, composition that prized raw subjective affect over realistic rendering. "It's not the chair that should be painted," he wrote, "but what the person has felt at the sight of it." Many of the Munch's works dealt with personal suffering. This may have also led to certain critics observed as unsympathetic portrayal of women in works where Munch represented them as cruel predators victimizing helpless men. And death often haunted Munch's composition, from a skeleton helming a boat or to a morbid self-portrait, and his sister's final moment to a mother on her deathbed, her child assuming a now familiar expression. Munch's art generated controversy. Some critics characterized him as absolutely demented, but he also drew acclaim. And what would become his most famous work was just around the corner. The Scream was inspired by a moment that overwhelmed Munch with an acute sense of anguish. In a diary entry marked January 22nd in 1892, Munch described walking with 2 friends along the field overlooking what's now Oslo at sunset. He leaned against a fence, exhausted, as he saw the sky change suddenly. He described blood and the tongues of fire above the blue-black field of the city. And as his friend walked on, Munch wrote, "I stood there, trembling with anxiety, and sensed infinite scream passing through nature." As with other painful experiences, Munch revisited the scene repeatedly. First, he depicted it with more recognizably human subject, but the following year, he surrendered its dramatic abstracted symbolism, the haunted expression of the figure's skull-like face meeting with Beaver's Gate directly. On this first version, he added a subtle, bright inscription, "Could only have been painted by a madman." Based on Munch's account, many think the figure isn't emitting the shriek, but reacting to it. Munch eventually made 4 versions of the Scream, all on cardboard, 2 with pastel, 2 with paint. He created numerous prints and lithographs. The year following the first Scream, he depicted the same setting, but it featured a collection of despairing faces. In late 1893, Munch premiered the Scream at a solo exhibit in Berlin. The artwork's bold composition helped fuel the expressionist movement, which likewise emphasized stark psychological states, mapping the emotional contours of the World War I and beyond. The Scream continued its crescendo. When it entered the public domain in the mid-1900s, new rendition and reproduction bolstered its fame. It's featured in popular film during the 1990s, and the bronze-painted version of the Scream was stolen and recovered in a separate heist in 1994 and 2004. Sure enough, it was a widely accepted archetypal symbol for horror and anguish, The scream-inspired emoji was eventually implemented, and considering how to mark hazardous sites or so far our future generations could know to avoid them, the US government has considered using the scream expression. While its myriad cultural influences may not always reflect the personal agony Munch initially rendered, the scream has certainly found a near universal echo.